Golf Pick'em Expert Picks. Brought to you by FootJoy.
It's the final major of the year. The Masters is upon us. Also, the final week of Golf Pick'em in the NBC Sports Predictor app for 2020. I'm Will Gray, joined by Ryan Lavner. Lav, you know the game. We're going through 7 head-to-head matchups. You pick a winner, you pick the tournament winner and the winning score. A perfect score gets you $50,000 in prizes, guaranteed $1,000 in weekly prizes. So let's get started. We have a bit of a high-profile matchup here to start with. Defending champ Tiger Woods up against the guy once again looking for the career Grand Slam, Rory McIlroy. Who has the better week in Augusta?
I think it's Rory. I'm not sure it's going to be particularly close. Coming off a 29 birdie performance at Sherwood, he's starting to show some signs in his game. He was kind of under the radar this fall, and I think that'll continue into the fall Masters. He always has so much pressure during the run-up to the spring. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case because he's not really one of the top 3 favorites, but Rory over Tiger head-to-head.
Yeah, I do not have particularly high hopes for Rory. I don't have really high hopes if he gets close to that 4th major, but I do think that he is going to finish better than Tiger. There aren't a lot of guys right now that I would take Tiger against in a head-to-head format, given his lack of form. He really hasn't showed us anything since we returned to competition in June. I'm with you. Rory's the way to go. Next up, it's the rivalry that every golf writer is dreaming for. Bryson DeChambeau coming off a U.S. Open victory against Mr. Major Brooks Koepka. Lav, which way are you leaning?
I'll take Bryson. I'm not sure we're necessarily going to see the Bryson domination that a lot of people have been predicting since his U.S. Open route, but he's got a better chance than Brooks, who, other than a few events in 2020, has just looked out of sorts. I think the only worry with Bryson is the over-experimenting over the past couple of weeks, but I still think he'll beat Brooks head-to-head.
I think the over-experimenting is an issue. The sky-high expectations are basically breaking through the ceiling here. And don't forget, on the greens, doesn't have the greens book. I'm actually going to fade Bryson, take my chances with Brooks, who has played well at this event, plays well so often in majors. I just think that we're just expecting too much of Bryson. Maybe Bryson's expecting too much of himself. He could be due for a little regression, and I think Brooks is the way to go. 2 of the top 3 players in the world rankings, both looking for their first Masters title. Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas. This is a tough one, Lav. Which way do you think it's going to go?
Leaning Jon Rahm. I'm not sure I necessarily feel great about it. They both obviously played well in their most recent start, the Zozo Championship. The only reason I'm taking Rahm in this head-to-head matchup is because of his course history at Augusta National. It's just a little bit better than JT. 7 straight under pars at Augusta, 21 under par in his last 2 appearances. JT never had a top 10 at the home of the Masters.
That's amazing. I came up with that same stat, so I'm glad we're looking in the same places. But a T12 finish last year was his best ever at Augusta. You would think on a generic course, I'm probably going to lean JT a little bit over Jon Rahm, but I'm with you. There's something about this place that Rahm seems to have started to figure it out, and Justin Thomas maybe is a little bit slower with that learning curve. I don't know that the shift to November is going to help that process, so I'm with you. It's a slight lean, but it's a lean to Jon Rahm. 2 of the most high-profile rookies in this year's Masters field, PGA champion Collin Morikawa, U.S. Open runner-up Matthew Wolff. Who has the better week in Augusta?
I'm going to go with Matthew Wolff. I know he hasn't been great over his past 2 starts, really struggled at the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek, and then in a home game at Sherwood, didn't play well there either. But Collin Morikawa, since the PGA Championship, has had a little bit of a letdown. I like the fact that Wolff is as long, if not longer, than Bryson DeChambeau, and he hits absolute moonballs with his irons, which is obviously going to come into play next week at Augusta National. I really like Matthew Wolff next week.
I'm going the other way. Moonballs aside, which I do appreciate their value, especially at Augusta. I think I'm just going to trust Collin Morikawa more than Wolff with a 5 or 6 iron in hand. I don't know how many 5 irons Wolff's going to have to hit, given the length that you pointed out. But I am concerned that he might be running out of steam. This is a long season. They're both trying to, get their footing as PGA Tour pros at the same time. But I just think that what I saw a couple weeks ago at the CJ Cup, both negatively from Wolff and positively from Morikawa, just a little bit of sign of light from Morikawa. I think he's going to step his game up and has a more well-rounded body of work on a course that demands every aspect of your game. A runner-up last year against a champion from 2 years ago, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed. Who gets your vote, Lav?
I like DJ, top 10s in each of his past 4 appearances at Augusta National. And even with just a little bit of prep time because of the COVID-19 positive diagnosis, he's still going to be a top 3 favorite for the Masters, along with Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. Length is going to be a huge advantage with the softer fairways. If it was going to be a little bit more difficult, if we're going to see temperatures in the 50s, I may have leaned in Patrick Reed's direction. It's going to be 80 and sunny. DJ bombs away.
Yeah, I think Patrick Reed has been quietly really consistent this year, especially the last few months, racking up those top 25 finishes. But I'm with you. Maybe we don't make enough about Dustin Johnson's really strong course history at Augusta National. As you mentioned, a runner-up last year, but 4 straight top 10s. It's a course that he really has figured out, even though he hasn't slipped into that green jacket yet. The COVID diagnosis is a bit of a curveball. We're not sure what to expect, but he's usually pretty good coming off of even medium-length layoffs. So I think that this is going to be another one where I'm going with you. I'm taking DJ. Two of the biggest names still in search of a maiden major. Xander Schauffele against Zozo winner Patrick Cantlay. Lab, this is a tough one.
It is a really tough one. I'm going to go with Xander, and keep in mind, these are both two players who had a share of the lead on Sunday at the 2019 Masters, and both of them got lapped by Tiger Woods coming down the stretch. But I'm going to keep picking Xander. I think I picked him at the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open. Now here we are at the Masters. He's golf's preeminent big game hunter. We saw how he played at Eastlake a couple of months ago. Another strong performance at the U.S. Open, and then really flashed at Shadow Creek. I know Cantlay's coming in here with a victory, but I still like the X-Man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Xander. I love how he plays in limited fields. I love how he plays in majors. I love how he plays in this major, and I love how he's playing right now. That's good enough for me. Two past Masters champions, both in search of form. Lab, this is a bit of a throw the dart and see where it lands. Phil Mickelson, Jordan Spieth, who has a better week?
A little bit ugly, but I am going to go with Jordan Spieth for all the struggles that he's had over the past couple of years. He still hasn't finished worse than 21st at Augusta National. Spieth is the best putter between those two. And Phil, it just seems like he's going to get in his own way. He's on this mad search for distance and speed. And over the past couple of years, when he's done that, he's been especially erratic. I think that is going to get him in some of the limited trouble that there is at Augusta National. I'm going with Spieth, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be a particularly good week.
Yeah, this could be a matchup where they both miss the cut, but someone's got to finish ahead of the other one. I'm with you. I like the word erratic when it comes to Phil. We really just don't know what to expect, whereas Spieth, I think the floor is a little bit higher, even though he has struggled in recent weeks. But there is something about once he gets on the grounds there for both of them, but especially for Spieth, his game just seems to elevate. And I do agree with you that Phil might be spinning his wheels a little too hard. So give me Spieth. I'll take my chances. So those are our picks for the 7 head-to-head matchups. But Lab, as you know, in Golf Pick'em, you still need a tournament winner. So give me a name. Who is slipping into that green jacket on Sunday to cap a Masters unlike any other?
There's so much unknown heading into this fall Masters, and like you mentioned, a Masters unlike any other. So I'm going to go with a consistent force, and that is Jon Rahm. 21 under par over his past 2 appearances at Augusta National. Saw some signs of life with his iron play, most importantly at Sherwood, where he had a chance to win there at the Zozo Championship. He's one of the most complete players in golf. Augusta National is going to test every single facet of his game. I think Jon Rahm is up to the task and ready to get his first major championship.
I'm certainly not looking to fade Jon Rahm by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going to go with another guy who I know we already discussed and we're both very high on, and that's Xander Schauffele. Eventually, he's going to get it done. As you said, we both have been very high on him. We picked him a couple times earlier this year, but I just love the body of work. 7 top 10 finishes in 15 career major starts. Every single time it seems he's in the mix. Eventually, a player of his caliber with his skill set who plays well in this neck of the woods at Eastlake and at last year's Masters where he was a runner-up. Eventually, he's going to get over the finish line. He's had a couple where he's played well, but just not well enough. This could be the week the X-Man gets it done and gets his first major title. All right, those are our picks. Remember, make your picks before the players tee off next week at Augusta National. Go onto the NBC Sports Predictor app. It's free to download, free to play. Make your head-to-head picks. Pick a tournament winner. Pick a winning score. You will be eligible for $1,000 in guaranteed weekly prizes, as well as a $50,000 grand prize for a perfect score. It's the last Pick'em event of 2020, so make sure you get those picks in. For Ryan Labner, I'm Will Gray. Thanks for watching. See you next year.
Golf Pick'em Expert Picks, brought to you by FootJoy.